Okay, next, supposition and appellation. Supposition and appellation are the two important properties or functions of terms used in a proposition, because it is not possible to always produce the actual things to be discussed. Supposition. The term supposition is derived from the Latin word supponere or suppositio, which means to stand for. With this etymology, logician defines supposition as the precise meaning. Depends on the use or function of the term in the proposition, grossly dependent on how it stands for a specific function in a proposition. Example, the bat flies overhead. The bat is the supposition in a proposition. Logicians divide supposition into four standpoints, namely, from the standpoint of the object, from the standpoint of the extension of the term, from the standpoint of the comprehension of the term, and from the standpoint of the meaning of the term. From the standpoint of the object, supposition is further divided into real, ideal or imaginary, and instrumental or logical. Real supposition is the use of a term to represent the actual existence of a thing in the external world. Examples: the Abu Sayyaf of Mindanao, the Palestinian Liberation Army of Palestine, the Mafia of Italy, the New People's Army of the Philippines. Next, ideal or imaginary supposition is the use of a term to stand for an object of imagination or fancy. Examples: Batman, Superman, Catwoman, and a flying horse. The examples only exist through television and not in real life, because it is the ideal or character of a real that exists in this world. Next, instrumental or logical supposition is the use of a term to denote something that exists only in the mind. Examples: blue charcoal, shore at the middle of the sea, smile without a face, and footprints in the air. From the standpoint of the extension of the term, supposition is divided into singular, universal, particular, and collective. And from the standpoint of the comprehension of the term, supposition is divided into simple, compound, concrete, and abstract. The discussion given earlier on the classification of ideas in terms of comprehension and extension applies to these two standpoints. From the standpoint of meaning, supposition is classified as precise, ambiguous, or proper. Precise supposition is the use of a term to stand for only one meaning in the proposition. Example: Gloria Macapagal Arroyo is the President of the Republic of the Philippines. That means it talks about declaration because Gloria Macapagal Arroyo declared as a President of the Republic of the Philippines. Next, ambiguous supposition is the use of a term to stand for several probable meanings in the proposition. Example: for sale automobile owned by a lawyer slightly used. Next, proper supposition is the use of a term to represent a proper object. Examples: Manila is the capital of the Philippines and Paris is the capital of France. That means it is the proper or exact meaning of an object. Next, appellation. The term appellation literally means the calling of something. Applied in logic, appellation refers to the function of a term that denominates another term. There are two terms that govern appellation, namely the appellant and the appellate. The term appellant pertains to the denominated term, while the term appellate pertains to the denominated term. So, when you connect it in English subject, appellant is the adjective and the appellate is the noun. Where an adjective that describe a noun, then the appellant that describe appellate. Example, the appellant of father is good, and the appellate of good is father. So now let's proceed to predicaments or categories and the predicables. The predicaments. Predicaments is the English equivalent of Greek term categories. This is the reason why in Aristotelian logic the term categories are preferred to predicaments. Aristotelian categories are classification of universal concepts or universal natures. Unlike in Kantian categories, are a priori forms of the mind or logical entities not duly correlated with actual things in the external world. Generally, categories are ideas that express the essence or quiddity of a thing. So, there are 10 categories of Aristotle. First category is substance. A substance is a being that does not need any other being or thing in order for it to exist. It is a thing in itself. For examples, table, rock, mountain, cat, bird, snake, elephant, and man. Second category is quantity. An accident through which a substance becomes divisible into parts, or may have an extension or a numerical or number modification. For examples, width, length, and size. Third category is quality. An accident through which a substance could have a formal or pertaining to form modification. For examples, color, figure, shape, and health. Fourth category is relation. An accident that pertains to the reference of a substance to another. For examples, maternity, paternity, sorority, fraternity, and superiority. Fifth category is action. An accident that pertains to one substance producing an effect in another. For examples, driving, peeling, sewing, and cooking. Sixth category is fashion. An accident that refers to a substance being affected by another. For examples, being humiliated, being murdered, and being kicked out from a job or position. Seventh category is when. An accident that pertains to a circumstances or situation relative to time. For examples, yesterday, today, tomorrow, noon, morning, evening, and dawn. Eighth category is where. An accident that refers to a circumstance or situation relative to place or a point in space. For examples, on the table, downstairs, in the Philippines, in a friend's house, and in the river bank. Ninth category is posture. An accident that refers to a being determination relative to the disposition of its part. For examples, kneeling, walking, sitting, and standing. 10th category is habit. An accident that refers to a being outward modification or another being relative to equipment or clothing. For examples, cloth, hatted, and armed. A discussion of predicaments is crucial since in logic, it is always necessary to assign an idea to its appropriate category. Consequently, this requires one to look for the proper meaning expressed in an idea. For example, ideas like daughter, mother, son, and father, although they are all substances, belong to the accidental category called relation. Idea like red, green, square, slim, circular, and sick, or it belong to the accidental category called quality. The predicables. Logicians define predicables as the various ways or modes of predicating universal concepts, as will be discussed in the succeeding pages. All kinds of propositions always have three fundamental components, namely subject, copula, and predicate. The founder of classical logic, Aristotle, made it clear that there are only 5 ways to describe predicates. First, genus expresses a part of the essence of a subject which the subject has in common with other species belonging to its class. For example, acacia has leaves, trunk, and branches. Second, species expresses the fullness of the essence or whole essence of a subject. For example, man is a thinking being. Third, specific difference, also called differentia, expresses a part of the essence of a subject through which the subject is distinguished from other species belonging to the same genus. For example, concepts like human, person, and broth belong to the same genus. Fourth, property expresses a characteristic or an attribute that is not part of the essence of a subject. For example, man is a laughing being, man is a talking animal, and man is the author of technology and civilization. Fifth, accident expresses an attribute of a subject that is neither a part or nor associated with the essence of the subject, but is related to the subject only in a contingent manner or mode. Being a contingent attribute of a subject, an accident may or may not be connected or associated with a subject. For example, this table is round, this man is tall, his hat is blue, and this human person is a woman. Next, definition of definition. Definition is derived from the Latin word definire, which means to state the limits of, or to enclose within limit. In logic, the word definition is taken to mean the explanation of an idea or term based on its content or use. Next, there are two kinds of definition: nominal and real definition. Nominal definition explains the meaning of a term by way of considering it, or the term defined, as a name. This could be accounted to the fact that the term nominal is derived from the Latin word nominalis, which means having reference to a name. For example, biology is derived from the word 410 meaning life, and jogos meaning study. Hence, the nominal definition of biology is a science that studies life. Next, real definition explains the meaning of a term by way of recounting the content of an idea with accuracy or completeness. For example, man is a rational animal, and man is a tripartite creature of body and soul. In sum, real definition is meant to give the meaning of the nature of the thing as signified by the term, while nominal definition is meant to identify or indicate the thing signified by the term. Next, 4 rules of definition. First, a definition must be clear or exact. A definition must provide a precise idea of the term defined. In other words, the definition of the term must neither be narrower nor wider than the term. Second, a definition must be brief. A definition must contain no superfluous words. A definition must not be verbose. Third, a definition must not contain the term defined neither tacitly or implicitly. A definition must not be circular in order for it to clarify the meaning of the thing defined. The name of the thing being defined should not be repeated in the definition. Fourth, a definition must be coextensive with a term or thing defined. A definition must be able to distinguish the thing defined from all other things. In this vein, the definition and the term defined must have identical extension. In other words, they can be made convertible.